Klaus Zellmer, welcome to Economist Impact Sustainability Week in London.
Thank you very much.
We're celebrating the 9th anniversary of Sustainability Week. Next year will be our decade anniversary. Can you tell me a little bit about how sustainability and the role of sustainability has changed inside your company over that period?
Yeah, well, this is no secret. Sustainability is the name of the game. It's a hygienic factor. You can't do without it. Any business you build financially successful long term has to factor that in. With us, we have a strategy called the Next Level 2030 strategy. One of the 9 strategy fields is ESG, so environment, social and government. And within that, we have a lot of action fields that we're not just talking about sustainability. We want to provide proof points along the whole value chain, also incorporating our suppliers. Or our production facilities. Matter of fact, one of our factories in the Czech Republic is already CO2 neutral, and the rest of our factories, also in India, by the way, they will be CO2 neutral by the end of this decade. So we're working on it. We have a lot of people that are responsible to drive decarbonization. And then, of course, when we talk about producing, we also talk about the consumers, battery electric vehicles. We have 2 models in the market from Skoda. We have just announced that we will build another 6 in the coming years. We're investing 5.6 billion euro into those cars, into the development of those cars. The next car actually joining the family, the green family. This year will be called the L-Rock, which is a slightly smaller version of our current car. And then I think the biggest anticipation runs with our entry model, battery electric vehicle, which the name is not out yet, so I have to be a bit cryptic here. So that car will be around 25,000 euro, and then it's, this is more affordable, and hence it will increase our footprint in this battery electric vehicle market. Hence, sustainability is the name of the game.
Great. Well, but in an industry like the auto industry, where you're changing from a gas-powered vehicle to an electric-powered vehicle, the skills and the engineering required is quite different. How are you transitioning your workforce and building the skills internally to adopt these new products?
Yeah, step by step. For us, this is an evolution. I always keep on reminding ourselves and people outside our company that, we're basically renovating a house with everybody still living, cooking, eating and sleeping in that house. So it is a challenge, and this is why this transformation needs time. Currently, if you want to buy a Skoda, the offer is you can go for a mild hybrid, a hybrid, a plug-in hybrid, a diesel, a petrol car, or a battery electric vehicle. So we're doing everything at the same time, which reflects the market. The share of battery electric vehicle sales in Europe was less than 20%, so we're catering for the 80% and the 20%. And this is exactly how we transform our employees as well. We need to get on board them for new technologies such as battery technology, battery cell development, the electric drivetrain, but also everything digital. We're talking about software-defined vehicles, which is a big challenge for the established industry. This is not our home turf, but we're getting there. But it takes time. As I said, it's like an evolution, not a revolution for us.
Yeah, well, I can say at Economist Impact, we've released a green skills report and green skills index, which finds that digital skills, like the ones you're talking about, are really in the most demand. And it seems that as the auto industry changes, those software engineers are going to be some of the most highly sought after as well. What about on the consumer side? So how are you seeing uptake from the consumer for, let's say, battery electric vehicles, and what do you just see to be some of the greatest barriers to that uptake?
Well, if you take a rational point of view for battery electric vehicles, you have instant torque with the car, you have low total cost of ownership, very little maintenance. The cars by definition are technologically more advanced. So that's pro battery electric vehicle. Also, depending on electricity costs, but generally speaking, 100 kilometers in a battery electric vehicle will always be cheaper than in a combustion engine vehicle. So that's good. Now, what
will it always be cleaner? Is the well-to-wheel
well, we need to work on that, of course. If you have green energy, that's a prerequisite for it to be cleaner than a comparable combustion engine car. But you need renewable energy, of course, for that. And along the whole value chain, I just gave you the example of CO2 neutral production facilities. I'll give you another example. In Mladá Boleslav, we just commissioned the biggest photovoltaic roof system in the Czech Republic, generating 2 gigawatt hours of electricity a year. 30% of our electricity need in our factory in Pune in India is generated by photovoltaic systems. So, it's the whole, every little piece of the value chain you have to attack. And this is what we're doing. Now, coming to why consumers might not buy into battery electric vehicles, it's often psychological barriers that we see there. Range anxiety. Obviously, a battery electric vehicle from a consumer's point of view is very different. Different means change. Change means uncertainty. So we have to overcome those barriers, often psychological barriers. And this is not just our task, this is also a task of the government, establishing the infrastructure so you feel comfortable when you want to charge outside your home. So it's something where the playground is full of people playing together for fighting climate change.
Yeah. We'll talk about playing together. There's been a lot of talk over the last couple of days here about supply chains. At Economist Impact also we've done a work on something called the Value Chain Navigator that allows people to look at their Scope 3 emissions. A lot of that is communication with suppliers. Central Europe and around where you are has a big automotive supply chain community. How are you seeing your suppliers shifting? Are you changing suppliers? Are you working with them to adopt the new realities? How does that relationship develop?
I would say all of that, of course. And of course, suppliers by definition often the typical sized supplier, not the big five. They're more adaptable, they're more flexible, they're more variable, they're more agile than the big car manufacturers. So I'm not worried about the suppliers at all to buy into sustainability, decarbonization, new technology. Of course, it's a challenge for them as well. If you produce combustion engines, that part of your business comes to an end by 2035. So you need to invest into new technology and competences, and they're doing so. Now, one of the elements that us as manufacturers need to tackle is to understand the CO2 footprint of each and every screw of a car, or each and every part of a car. Depending on where is it being produced, how is it being produced, how far away is that. So that is still something that we need to tackle. We're talking about decarbonization, but this is part of what we need to understand for 800 to 1,000 parts of a car to then really claim it's decarbonized. But we're also working on that, and there's some great companies out there helping us navigate through that.
Great. My last question is about policy. You mentioned 2035 as a deadline. Obviously here in the UK, famously last year, the deadline was pushed out. What kind of policies do you think are most supportive to your change, and what would you like to see out of the policymakers, either at the European or national level, to push this forward?
Yeah, I think that 2035 is unquestionable. This is something we need to really address and work for, and have our cars as attractive as possible to meet that deadline. Our battery electric vehicles, also from a cost point of view, which is a challenge, because currently combustion engine cars are more profitable than battery electric vehicles. Everybody knows that. Now, from a policy point of view, we need stability. We need our resources to then focus on transformation. We just had a very interesting discussion about EU7. I don't know whether you're aware of that. There was the initial draft that would have asked to invest so much billions into existing combustion engine technology that would obviously then be missing for the transformation into battery electric vehicles. So we need to stay reasonable. I'm a bit worried, I have to say, about the fact that the penalties, if you don't meet your CO2 limits, they rest with the car manufacturers and not so much with the consumers. So this is something to look at. And then the biggest challenge from my point of view will be the existing fleet. Our European car park by the end of this decade, or let's take 2035, will be dozens of millions of combustion engine cars.
Where do they go?
Well, they will stay in the market, and they need to be fueled in order to be used. So we're talking about synthetic fuels, e-fuels. This cannot be pushed off the table because it is going to hit us. Once we stop selling combustion engine cars, there will be still dozens of millions around. And we need to find a way to decarbonize those as well. So this is, from a policy point of view, something that I would like to encourage more thought about.
Like a cash for clunkers.
Oh yeah. It's not all about just the subsidies and financial, financial incentives in order to change into battery electric vehicles, because at the end of the day I don't think any government will be able to sustainably pay for that. The ecosystem has to be there for people to embrace battery electric vehicles, and that exercise, coming back to the playground with many players, is upon all of us.
Great. Well, Klaus Zellmer, thanks very much for sitting down to speak with me, and we hope you enjoy the rest of Sustainability Week.
Yeah, well, thank you very much.
You.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.